Republican colleagues, pay attention. We're here today in the hopes that you will see the light. But if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist!
Resist. I don't know, whenever I hear resist, what do you think of? I always think of the Reverend Al Charlatan. What else could you think of when you hear radical left-wing, communist, anti-American, racist Democrats yelling resist? Ba 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 ba. The Reverend Al Charlatan. What a man. Where do we find such men? And where did the rest of him go? Is it just hiding beneath that blue velour? Radical Democrats, members of the House of Representatives, members of the United States Senate, Democrats far and wide in Washington yesterday. They're here to resist. You can never shrink the size of government.
But resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
This is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party's been turned over to rabble, non-English speaking, unintelligent, low IQ, unserious, corrupt Democrats like the Reverend Al Charlatan. Hey, where's Tawana Brawley, Al? Hey, what church are you a member of anyway? And really, they still have you? Isn't that amazing?
I have to be the most inept charlatan in the country.
Well, I'd like to think so, but I'm terrified that may not be true. Isn't that remarkable? I've got some audio I want to get to here, and this is USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development. And I've got to say, about the U.S. Agency for International Development, it's a means of distributing our money around the world. And I was reading to you yesterday from a list of all kinds of crazy things that we pay for with our taxpayer dollars by way of the United States Agency for International Development, including a transgender play in Ireland that we're paying for. What is the, you have that list? I don't even have it in front of me anymore because it's so ridiculous that it should be read out loud every day in every classroom in America, I think.
These are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap. And
I think I'd go along with her on that White House spokesmodel, lovely Caroline Levitt, of course, and she couldn't be more fun. She's great, and that's just wonderful. And a long list. The news media doesn't talk about what is being paid for by way of USAID and these crazy. This Samantha Power woman. A Democrat who's been given many positions of responsibility. She would, from all outward appearances, appear to be a meth head, that is a methamphetamine addict, living under a bridge with maybe a case of Milwaukee's Best. That's a case of canned beer. But amazing stuff. And Samantha Power, from the Obama radical left-wing, anti-American, racist, anti-Semite administration to the idiotic Biden administration, Samantha Power gets these positions of responsibility, including USAID, Agency for International Development. And this is the USAID, the transgender this and the gay that and Colombia and where is Serbia and wherever else. The lunacy. Samantha Power is all about that. And the corrupt, filthy news media, they all sleep together and spread monkeypox together and all that good stuff. But, the garbage that Samantha Power has been shoveling for years that they labeled as development. It's the Agency for International Development. And, she encouraged the mission. They have these directors of this and directors of that to promote ridiculous stuff abroad, along with Democrat appointees as U.S. ambassadors to various places. And now we're starting to learn a little bit about it, although the news media is still actively involved in a cover-up. But if you're a conservative in conservative media, then you want the truth. And if you're a Democrat in Democrat media, then you're engaged in a cover-up every day and you're a big liar. You go to sleep thinking about what lies you're going to tell tomorrow. Amazing stuff. Wah, wah, wah. And, there are a few people that work at the Agency for International Development that are normal people that think clearly and vote correctly, and they're on the side of America and civilization and all that stuff. But a few, possibly conservative actors, employees in the mix there. But Samantha Power person, she would bench, sideline anyone that isn't a dedicated left-wing apparatchik inside the machine. And their modus operandi was, with Samantha Power and these lefties, to sideline, to bench anybody who didn't sing from the sheet music of the transgender left, So, wah, wah, wah. And one friend telling me today that USAID's job is to do such good work that they're out of a job because, the world won't need our help anymore, right? But, of course, they do the opposite. They perpetuate their jobs in perpetuity. And, what about U.S. national security? Should we be concerned about U.S. national security or just spreading money around? And the reality is, of course, the money goes to friends and allies of the Democrat Party and the Davos international left. And that's why we have all these transgender plays around the world and all these ridiculous, ridiculous things. Just amazing stuff. If we're going to have, and Elon Musk and I played the audio yesterday, said if we need, we could dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development right now. And, and the news media is apoplectic. Oh, no, employees of USAID are coming back home with their families. Really, they've been living in Burundi with their families, not digging wells, not bringing electricity, not bringing clean water.
If it turns out we really need such an organization in the future, we just create it. Problem solved. By the people, answerable and answerable to the people and to the people's elected representatives. Mm-hmm. That is the way that government is supposed to work.
We just create it from salt. And it's true, he could stand up an organization in an afternoon. I talked about this yesterday. During lunch, like while he's eating lunch, he could stand up an organization to give away billions of dollars. It's not hard to give away billions of dollars. But when you're crooked and corrupt and you're funneling it all to your friends and allies here and around the world, well, that takes some organization. That takes a little time to build up that whole thing. Now, we were talking about the Super Bowl and President Trump going to the Super Bowl and had some, and my best girl and I talking about, it should be Super Bowl Saturday. Should be Super Bowl Saturday, right? Because 22 million people, or 0.8 million, are expected to not show up to work on Monday because the Super Bowl's on Sunday. And there's a crazy thing, and Michael Pisser reminded me, that Charles County, there's a county here in the Washington, D.C. area, that came up with a crazy, crazy thing. Charles County in Maryland is giving government employees the Monday after the Super Bowl off. So it's a holiday in one county in one state in Maryland, right? Now, that's a bit wacky, but okay if that's what they want to do. Now, I've got to say that there's another clever idea that has also been floated here today, and it's a fun one, I think. It's a good one, and that is that if you pause, and my friend Tim came up with this, pause the Super Bowl, hold it next weekend, right? So Super Bowl isn't this weekend, it's next weekend. Why would you have it next weekend instead of this weekend? Well, because next weekend brings us to an already existing holiday, and that's President's Day, which is on Monday, February 17th. So if you have the Super Bowl on Sunday, February 16th, then the next day is already a holiday, and all you have to do is delay the Super Bowl by 1 week. What's the harm in that? and then you got a built-in holiday. Why not take advantage of a holiday already on the calendar instead of being a left-wing nitwit and saying, hey, let's have another federal holiday. This one's for the Super Bowl. But I think Tim has got a good idea. You know, George Washington's birthday, President's Day, already existing Monday holiday. Make the Super Bowl match up to the holiday rather than making the holiday match up to the Super Bowl. What do you think? Makes perfectly good sense. If you axed me, don't ax me. So that's kind of a fun idea. President Trump, first president ever to go to the Super Bowl. Isn't that great? All right, now I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking at all the things that I want to get to. And I'm looking at the mailbag, which is today as well. And let me hit mailbag questions. I've got mailbag questions right here in my hand, printed up, courtesy of Michael Piercy, and paper from trees, come from Canada, the ones they don't burn, you know, when they're setting everything on fire. And then ink that comes from oil that we need for everything. Civilization requires cheap and abundant energy. See 3 Days of the Condor. That's another discussion for another day. Mailbag. Barry Tolbert asks, hey, Chris, I've observed that Republican women are more attractive than Democrat women. That's true. Every school child can confirm that for you. So Barry's correct about that. This is especially true among members of Congress and the media. Republican women are attractive and fit. Democrat women look like creatures from the Black Lagoon. Do you agree? Why is this? Well, Barry, I think everyone recognizes this to be true. Newsmax TV, women, beautiful, wonderful. Fox News TV as well, famous for many years, having lovely women. CNN, shrieking MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, $25 million a year, down from $30 million a year. And Barry, I think a lot of it has, there are a number of elements that come into play here. There's grooming, of course, like regular Western bathing habits. Bathing, very important. Women on the left, men on the left, and transgender people on the left. Not so good at grooming, at bathing, the, coiffing. Conservative women tend to be more interested in dressing well, in looking appropriate to any circumstance, and, of course, bathing and staying in better shape. Left-wing women are shoveling other people's food into their pie holes 24 hours a day. They don't groom. They got, hairy French armpits and things. And it's true that, conservative women tend to be more attractive. Why? Because they care. And, Democrat households tend to be unhappier, according to all kinds of surveys and studies. And the people in the unhappy households, Democrat households, tend to be sloppier and more disheveled, not smiling, unhappy. And if you're a happy, healthy, fit, well-dressed, well-groomed, coiffed person, then you're going to look better, aren't you? Yes, you are. So that's a good one. And on the left, unshaven, unbathed, slovenly, schlocky, you're not going to look as well. And that's a big part, I think, of the difference between conservative women, Republican women, out in public, at parties, at barbecues, and on television, looking better than the transgender, mentally ill, unhappy. And this, literally, studies do show kids in conservative households are happier than kids in liberal households. The kids grow up happier in conservative households, and so on. All right, I have more mailbag questions to get to because I constantly run out the clock on myself. Darn clock. Time marches on. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier has finally arrived, and it builds on the incredible success of the two previous generations of Eden Pure Thunderstorms, which earned thousands of five-star reviews online. The new thunderstorm uses two different technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air. Also takes dust and pet dander and smoke and all kinds of nasty stuff out of the air that you breathe. And no filters to buy and replace again and again. The new thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Talking about trash cans and cigarette smoke and smelly shoes and left-wing protesters. No match for the Eden Pure thunderstorm. Right now, you can save up to $200 on an Eden Pure thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. Yes, sir. Put one in your basement, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. All right, mailbag, more mailbag, and screaming crazy Democrats on the streets of Washington coming up.
I told my 9-year-old daughter that I was going to be speaking with you, and I said, what do you think about climate change? And she said, the earth is on fire, and we're all going to die soon. And I asked her how that made her feel, and she said it made her feel angry.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Well, we got a lot of calls about the holiday for Super Bowl. So you can't have the Super Bowl next weekend because the Daytona 500 is next weekend. And then you've got President's Day, which used to be kind of George Washington's birthday. If it's President's Day now, Lincoln's birthday was February 12th, and then we could have George Washington's birthday rolled in there because he was born February 22nd. Then they moved it in 1968 with the Uniform Monday Holiday Act out of Congress. So I think we can move President's Day to be the Monday after the Super Bowl and keep the Daytona 500 where it is. But then you don't have President's Day after the Daytona 500. So life is full of conundrums, isn't it? We'll sort it out, though. We're America. We became bored with driving dune buggies on the moon a half-century ago. We can figure out what to do with Super Bowl Sunday. I know we can. But honestly, if you move it to Saturday, Super Bowl Saturday, problem solved. Am I right? I think so. Pretty good. All right, I still have a couple more questions from the mailbag coming up. And we've got screaming, shrieking Democrats on the streets of Washington threatening. Would you say they're threatening civil war again, Michael? You got to listen to these mental cases, these Democrats. From the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer. We've got a bunch of mental cases. Maxine Waters and Ayanna Pressley coming up. These people. Chris Van Hollen, you think he's the most dangerous, Chris Van Hollen? Wait till you hear what these people said yesterday. Lordy Lord. We have so many wild stories going on all at once. And it's Mailbag Day, and I need to get back to my mailbag here for a moment. But let me just share this with you for a moment. Benny Johnson on Twitter announcing this is the biggest scandal in news media history. No employees at Politico got paid yesterday. First time ever that the company missed a pay period. And at Politico, it's a big crisis, of course. Now we're learning that Politico, which is purportedly a news company, which spent the last 10 years trying to destroy the MAGA movement, was being massively funded by USAID. Politico was taking our tax dollars from U.S. Agency for International Development under Democrats. That's what this report is. Wow. And Trump and Elon Musk have deleted their funding. Now Politico will go out of business. The corruption is endless. This is pretty amazing stuff, I've got to say. the USAID. Total award amounted $8.2 million from 237 transactions. And USAID funneling money to Politico on Wilson Boulevard in Arlington, Virginia. It's business funding. And they call them loans, but then they never come due But apparently this has been discovered by the Elon Musk team that the so-called newspaper in Washington, D.C. has taken millions of dollars in USAID money while they do the work of the Democrat Party and undermine Republican politicians and Donald Trump and so on. So that sounds like quite a remarkable story. I've got to say, man, oh man, crazy. Politico, the LLC, $8.1 million, 236 transactions, and just amazing stuff. Womp, womp, womp. Yeah. Did you think they were hosting all of those Politico breakfasts with federal government officials out of journalistic curiosity, out of journalistic integrity? Amazing stuff. And people are calling for Politico to be hauled before Congress and the USAID people to be hauled before Congress. In the meantime, the Democrats on Capitol Hill are apoplectic because they want to call Elon Musk before Congress. They want to subpoena Elon Musk, and they're screaming and pounding the table about that today. But let me get real quickly to the mailbag and then get back to the screaming lunatic Democrats and their insane Communist Party rigmarole. It's rigmarole. I'm trying to keep it clean over here. All right, so we started with Barry Tolbert on why Republican women look better and are cleaner and are more beautiful and wonderful, and being clean and well-coiffed is big, and being happy is really big, and having a sense of humor really big. Did a story on my Newsmax television show last night that parents that parent as a verb with a sense of humor raise happier children, and Democrats raise unhappier children. That's what the study found. And a lot of them become, transgender, and they self-immolate. And how many suicide attacks have there been by Democrats? At least 8. And I think at least 7 self-immolations now. But that's not important. Let's get back to the mailbag. Kevin Kneffel, related to Evel Knievel, do you think? I'm not sure. Chris, every president gets a presidential library since Harry Truman. President Trump is both the 45th president of the United States and the 47th president of the United States. My question is, should President Trump not get, this is kind of fun too, in his home state at the same time, both a 45th presidential library and then, in New York, and a 47th presidential library in Florida? I think that's a really fun idea. And if that, I'm going to share that, Kevin, with Trump people, because that's really fun. And I think that you could be right about getting 2 presidential libraries. And I think President Trump will like the idea. One for his 45th presidency in New York, and then President interrupted. And then one in Florida for his 47th presidency, his 4 years as the 47th president. I think that's a really fun idea, Kevin, and I am going to bring that. I'm going to bring that to Trump people. Some might hear it right now, too, because I think we're on the radio, right? Are we on the radio? Hello? We're on the radio, so that could get back to him lickety-split. That's a fun idea. Marcella Weisbrod sends in the question, you've spoken often about the fact that your family has been in news and broadcasting for 100 years. Absolutely true, since 1924. When did the media start to lean so far left, or has it always been this way? I got to say, it wasn't always like this. Even growing up and in my household, and the guy called Dad, my stepfather, CBS News, network news correspondent for 52 years, My grandfather, my mother's father, in radio starting in 1924 after he came home from World War I, and media until 1969, and lots of overlap and all that stuff. Now, I got to say, in the days of Walter Cronkite, way back when, they were basically a bunch of Democrats, and they hung out with John F. Kennedy and the owners of the Washington Post, and they loved the Kennedy family, and they were Democrats, and they palled around with him. But they also took the job seriously, and they said, and maybe they'd talk to him on the phone and say, you shouldn't do that. But then they report on the news that they shouldn't do that. The media really became corrupt, I think, really corrupt around the Ronald Reagan time frame when they started, because the left, the real left, they weren't liberals anymore. They're the left. And this makes all the difference in the world, because the left, members of the left, are not liberal. In fact, no one is more illiberal, anti-liberal, than the leftists, wherever you find them. And I honestly think, Marcella, that it was around the time of Ronald Reagan that the media went off the rails. And I've got to say that Watergate was a big instigator. And the Washington Post and All the President's Men, and then it became a movie with famous movie stars and Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. And journalism schools started cranking out activists around the time of the book and the movie, All the President's Men and Watergate, because they vilified and demonized Richard Nixon, who normalized relations with China and created détente with the Soviet Union and got us out of the Vietnam War that the Democrats got us into, and calmed the waters after the riots of 1968 when Sirhan shot Bobby Kennedy and when a Democrat presidential campaign volunteer, James Earl Ray, shot and killed Martin Luther King, who had been a Republican until the Kennedys tricked him. But after Richard Nixon and Watergate and All the President's Men, I think the media really took a turn for the corrupt and the sinister and got much worse. And now the left is more potent, powerful, and dominant in the United States than ever before. And so the media has been much more corrupt since President Trump came down the escalator. Although they hated George W. Bush and even George H.W. Bush, they hated Ronald Reagan, and they demonized and vilified and made up all kinds of fake stories about him. It wasn't always this bad. And also keep in mind, Marcella, that 100 years ago, we had a newspaper that was the St. Louis Republican, and it was a Republican-leaning newspaper, and the Chicago Democrat, and it was a Democrat-leaning newspaper. And then there was a movement to try to make all newspapers objective and unbiased and neither Republican nor Democrat. And I think we can say at this point, Marcella, that has been a failed experiment. That is a failed experiment. The Washington Post is not, and the New York Times are not fair and balanced newspapers. They're Democrat newspapers. No kidding. No kidding about it. All right, and that is our mailbag for the day. And now I really want to get back to these crazy Democrats. Where did we let off? Because, let's see. We played Shucky Schumer, did we? I'm sorry. All right, let's go to number 18 then. Number 18, the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer. Speaking of corrupt individuals, he probably helped the Politico get money from U.S. Agency for International Development to do the Democrat Party's work, because the Lizard King is an extremely corrupt individual. He was out in the streets of Washington yesterday, and are they threatening civil war, the Democrats?
I'm going to stand with you in this fight, and we will win. 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 We will win.
What are you going to win?
We won't rest. We won't rest.
You got to change the chant.
We won't rest. We won't rest.
You look like you need a rest.
Everybody.
You know, he's only 74 years old. He looks like he's 94 years old, and his breath is 94 years old. That guy is. Remember, he's the guy that went to the Supreme Court and threatened Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch. You will reap the whirlwind, and then the would-be assassin who wanted to murder 3 Supreme Court justices, a Democrat, and the news media has ignored him. showed up at Neil Gorsuch's house not far from this radio station with a gun and kidnapping tools and burglary tools and extra magazines of ammo, and that story went away in a day.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
They're all dangerous radicals, and that's why they call everybody else radicals, isn't it? By the way, President Trump had Pam Bondi confirmed by the Senate yesterday, the Republican control of the Senate, to become Attorney General of the United States. And now the fraudulent FBI. The FBI is all in a panic and some kind of a gender panic over at the FBI. And also we learned yesterday that 5,000 FBI employees, presumably FBI agents, were assigned to assail people that participated on January 6th, including grandmothers that prayed to God on the lawn of the Capitol. And how many thousands of FBI agents were assigned to go after Black Lives Matter and all the riots from Seattle and Portland to Chicago and Washington, with a couple of dozen murdered people, $2 billion plus in property damage, according to the insurance industry of America. But how many thousands of agents were assigned to that? The answer is apparently zero. How many people were sentenced to long terms in prison? The Washington Post really riled up today that I got so many stories to get to, I got to tell you. A church, Enrique Tarrio of the Proud Boys, pulled down a banner in front of a church. And now a left-wing radical judge in Washington has awarded the church all proceeds from all Proud Boys activities, including selling T-shirts and buttons, and because a banner was pulled down. No sense of irony. Enrique Tarrio was one of 4 members of the Proud Boys, including one young woman, African-American, Enrique Tarrio, African-American, Cuban-American. They were stabbed. 4 members of the Proud Boys were stabbed by would-be murderers of Black Lives Matter. Now, they raised billions of dollars. Maybe we should get the same judge to turn all the Black Lives Matter money over to me, because they kind of annoy me. So, all right, let's go back to the streets of Washington. Maxine Waters, lunatic, California. And again, Schumer's out there. We won't rest. I think he was murdering a goat at the same time. Maxine Waters.
We have convened here in the right place, the Treasury Department. We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected your ass. Nobody told you you could be in charge of the payments of this country. We have told you you've made enough money off our government yourself. Oh, you want to use our money to go to Mars? No. We want to use our money right here in Washington, D.C.
She's anti-science. She's a troglodyte. Today on Capitol Hill, since we're talking about Elon Musk and their rabid hatred for Elon Musk, congressional hearing today, Democrats want to subpoena Elon Musk, and he'd just eat them for lunch and spit them out and make them look like the school children that they are. But they're demanding a subpoena of Elon Musk because they've got this fantasy world that they're peddling to the American people. They're fraud, the latest fake news story. And today on Capitol Hill.
Given his prominence and his importance, I move that the committee subpoena Elon Musk to come before it as a witness at the earliest possible moment.
Jerry Connolly.
And I so move.
Democrat.
There's been a motion and second. The motion is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, why is it not debatable?
Not right.
Point of order.
It is debatable.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, why don't we want to debate Elon Musk coming in and talking to us about his work and how he's enriched himself for $64 billion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
How he's enriched himself. What, with USAID money going to Politico?
Mr. Chairman, I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your...
Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody who's breaking the law and dismantling our federal agencies and hiring federal data, and we will not even entertain a motion to bring this to the president oversight committee.
Are in favor of tabling.
Yes, let's have order in this country.
Stansbury, you're out of order. You know you're out of order. You know the rules of this committee.
The Democrats, they can't get enough of themselves.
There's been a motion.
Mr. Elon Musk is out of order and dismantled.
He's out of order.
God.
I call the question. There's been a motion and second. Motion by Dr. Fox, second by Mr. Higgins to table. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion
Mr.
is
Chairman,
tabled.
I ask for a recorded vote.
They want a recorded vote. Of course, they want a recorded vote, and they're going after Elon Musk because he's looking at where the crooked, criminal Democrat Party where they've been sending all of our billions and billions of tax dollars to their pals, and they can't have that. This is amazing. Headline: Top Democrat strategist warns USAID funding fight is a trap for the Democrat Party. Yeah, because it will expose their criminality and what they've been doing with billions and billions of dollars. Amazing stuff. Well, let's let them fall into the trap, shall we? I think that would be a good idea. Let's find out where our money's going. Wouldn't that be appropriate? But David Axelrod is warning them. Come on, the Republicans are going to win this one. They're outplaying you. This is a chess game for the Republicans, and it's a suicide mission for the Democrats. Now, Pam Bondi, as the new Attorney General of the United States of America, was sworn in today in the Oval Office by Clarence Thomas, taking the oath of office on a Bible with U.S. Supreme Court Justice, the great Clarence Thomas.
I will restore integrity to the Justice Department, and I will fight violent crime throughout this country and throughout this world and make America safe again. Thank you.
And make America safe again. That's the Attorney General version of Make America Great Again. President Trump also expressed his appreciation and his admiration for Clarence Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas, and for Mrs. Clarence Thomas, Ginny Thomas, who is a wonderful American, assailed, attacked, smeared by the lefties. You know how they are. Nasty, racists. The Democrat Party. Gosh, I've run out of time again. I'm going to have to come back tomorrow.